Welcome to Maui Source, your source for spirituality, health, music, and more. Featuring hypnotherapist and shamanic practitioner Mary Beth Tyson and Eric T. Richter, publisher of the Maui Vision magazine. Who better to kick off this season than Doreen Virtue, a resident of Maui?
Welcome to Maui Source, your source for spirituality, health, music, and more. I'm transformational therapist Mary Beth Tyson.
And I'm Eric T. Richter, publisher and editor of Maui Vision magazine. We're taking our show in new directions, and today we're interviewing Doreen Virtue, who's a new resident in Maui.
Doreen has a BA, MA, and PhD in counseling psychology. She is also a lifelong clairvoyant who works with the angelic realm. She is the author of Archangels 101, Earth Angels, and Healing with the Angels.
Doreen has appeared on Oprah, Good Morning America, and many other national TV shows. She's a weekly host of the Hay House Radio program on hayhouseradio.com, and she has a website, angeltherapy.com, where she shares her light and her insights with her listeners. So welcome, Doreen. Thanks for coming to Maui Source and being with us today.
Great to be here with y'all. Aloha and angel blessings. I'm Doreen Virtue here to give you a reading and all of the viewers of Maui Source TV show. So I'm going to use the daily guidance from your angels oracle cards. These cards all have positive information, and yet they get into detail about what you need to know. And so I'm going to shuffle these cards with the prayer and intention of getting a message for you and everyone who's watching and everyone involved in the show. And I'm getting guidance to do a 3-card spread about what's been in the past and what is in the present. And let's take a look at your future too, shall we? All right. So, in the past, this was a creative project. So this was an idea from source. There was a lot of, I'm getting paperwork involved, so perhaps something that you're involved in has gone from the idea phase into the manifesting or reality phase. Let's take a look and see what that says. Okay, so it says joy. And you're doing this project from a place of joy. You're not quite sure what the point is or where it's going, but you're following your bliss, and they want to let you know that you're on the right path, and don't worry about it. They're telling me that it's like the dolphin. The dolphin is always playing while they're getting their responsibilities taken care of. They're eating while they're playing. They're moving to a new location while they're playing. And so they want you to view your work as play and as joyfulness. And as we get to the future, look at this, innocence comes up as a sign of being in your inner child. And again, it's that playfulness of letting go of that stodgy, stuffy old adult that wants to worry all the time and wants to control everything. Just let it go and have fun. Mwah.
So you were a counselor and a therapist for quite some time, and now you're known for your readings with the angels and all of these books that you've written and writings about the angels and ascended masters. How did you transition to that kind of work?
It's an interesting question, and thank you for asking. It was an external transition because the internal was always there. I was born, like a lot of children, psychic, and I was so blessed to have parents who, well, they didn't understand it, they didn't shut it down. And when I was a psychotherapist, if you were coming to me, I was an eating disorder therapist, and you were just sitting there, I could see movies of what you actually did in a week. I didn't even need you to tell me what you did. And so I was a very popular psychotherapist because I was having a really good success rate with my clients, helping them with eating disorders. And it was because I was using my psychic ability. I actually became known as the food psychic before I did angel work, because I I could see what people were overeating, and I knew what the emotion was connected to that. And I used to be flown to New York all the time to go on the Food Network and do food readings, believe it or not. That was kind of my basis of doing public readings. So a guy would call in and say, I can't quit eating cheeseburgers. And I'd say, well, it's because your boss is this way and you really want to do this. And he'd go, oh my God, how'd you know? All I did was tell you I've been eating a cheeseburger. And so I wrote a book about that called Constant Craving, named after the Katie Lang song. And I just was going on that, treating eating disorders, writing about it. I was on all the talk shows talking about this. But inside there was this emptiness that I couldn't fill up. You know, I would try and eat and there'd still be this vacancy, this hole. I would shop. Nothing was filling it up. And my angels kept saying, well, it's because you're supposed to talk about us. But meanwhile, I remembered being a kid, teased terribly for being weird. You know, because I was born clairvoyant, and I would talk about things like, look at that man over there staring at us. And kids would go, what man? You know, things like that. And I would talk about manifesting before that word was popular in the vernacular. And so I didn't want to be teased again. When the angels told me to do this publicly, I said to them, you guys don't know what it's like here on earth. People are mean. Besides that, we have to pay bills, and I need to have a regular job. And the angels were saying, just trust us, just trust us. And I didn't trust it, and it wasn't until I was in an armed carjacking where I almost lost my life. On July 15th, 1995, this year will be an anniversary of that. And I didn't listen to them again because they told me to put the top up on my convertible car. And I knew what they meant, that if the top was down, it was too flashy for going to Anaheim, where I was going. And I got accosted. These two men with a gun and a knife jumped me and demanded my purse and my car keys or my life. And it was just as scary as it sounds. I still feel the emotions. It was traumatic. But God and the angels were still there, even though I kept ignoring them. They want us to know that they will never leave us, no matter what. And the angels said to me so loud, they said, scream with all your might. And it wasn't like a fear scream. This was a scream of power and groundedness. And I shocked myself when I screamed because it was so loud. We have a cave woman inside of us, I've discovered. And it was from here. It was just like, it was like these sirens we have, you know, for the tsunami warnings. It was that loud, it felt like. And these two men with the gun and the knife, their eyes were this big and they were backing away. And it was very David and Goliath moment because they had the weapons, but I had these throngs of angels with me, counseling me. And my screams attracted the attention of other people in this church parking lot where I was. And the people in the church ran out, and the men got in their getaway car and ran, you know, drove away. And it was just over, just as quick as it started. And I got on my knees and I said to God, you saved my life with your angels, what can I do? And I was told the same thing I was told for years, go teach as many people as quickly as possible that angels are real. So the very next day I did. I was scheduled to give a talk in Las Vegas at a health food convention, and I came out of the spiritual closet that day. I said, I talk to angels. And before then I'd always been afraid that bad things would happen if I said that. You know, people would run away screaming, we knew she was nutty, you know, all those things from childhood. None of that happened. Partly because I asked. I said to them, look, here's my parameters. I don't want to be running into mean people. You've got to pay my bills. You know, if you guarantee me that, I'll be okay. I'll do this. And now they've kept their promise, except for one time when I didn't listen to them, and they said this is a mean person, and I didn't listen, and I was with the mean person. But other than that, every time I've listened to them, you know, they paid the bills and kept me around nice people like y'all. So.
Well, it's obviously perfect timing for 20 years to come out of the angel closet and
I know, right?
get into the mainstream, because
Well,
it seems like it's a very popular thing right now, and probably a lot to do with your work and the many books that you published and the many cards you've published about the angels and training people to become angel therapists.
Yeah, they told me to kickstart the conversation. They said there was a lot of people interested in angels, but they were afraid, like me, of appearing crazy. And they said, if you, with your PhD background, will start talking about this, you can normalize it and get people just to have that conversation. So that was the job they gave me, and I think it's still happening. I mean, there's still people who think angels are myths, or, you have to go to a certain church or temple to have an angel. Or, the one that hurts my feelings is when I hear people say that they think they have to be a saint to warrant an angel's help. And that's not true. I mean, none of us are saints. That's why there are angels.
Exactly. And you talk about earth angels as your latest thing with assertiveness for earth angels, but our viewers probably don't know what an earth angel is, or there's a lot of us that don't feel like we belong here. How would you describe what an earth angel is?
Well, it's a term I use. It's kind of synonymous with light worker. Some people are familiar with that term. An earth angel is someone who's, first of all, highly sensitive. Sensitive to energies. You can feel shifts. You can feel when you walk in a room if there's negative or positive energies. When you meet someone, you can feel, are they in integrity or not? And someone who's an earth angel, the biggest characteristic is they care. They care not just about themselves, but others. It's like the opposite of a narcissist. And often earth angels become codependent. Codependency and narcissists could get in relationships very often. I think you've been with one. And well, I'm sorry, your angel just told me that. And so an earth angel wants the world to be peaceful, wants everyone to be happy, and often has a hard time being happy, him or herself, unless their loved ones are happy.
Right.
So earth angels feel often like they don't belong here on this planet. You feel like you were just dropped off. And when are they coming to get me to take me home?
Exactly.
Where are you folks? This funny April Fool's joke. You dropped me off here. But it's because we're assigned here. And we need earth angels on this planet. Or it would have, there would have been some really tragic things that would have happened. And I really think earth angels are holding down the amount of violence that could be possible.
When you talk about earth angels, and you've written that book, Assertiveness of Earth Angels, you talk about them as being people pleasers and they're too nice. And
Yeah.
so how do we earth angels, get better boundaries?
Well, that's just the thing. That's the word, is boundaries. And to realize that it's not only about being nice to other people, but you're in that bubble of people who need niceness too. So it starts with self-care. It starts with listening to your body. Does your body want rest? Give it rest. What a concept. Does it start with your body saying, oh, I really don't want to say yes to this request? Listen to that and negotiate if there's an alternative to you saying yes to everybody who wants something. Because, as a sensitive person, we can feel when we're being used. More than anything else, an earth angel wants to feel loved and honored and appreciated. And if we're being used, that's not loved and honored and appreciated. So it's wasting our time. And an earth angel really needs to be pointed in the right direction where love exists.
Do you have any hints or clues about toxic people and the people that are parasites, and
Yes, I've got.
gently releasing them? And do you just cut them off, or what do you do? I'm sure you've had that experience a lot of times where they're just leached
No, this is all
onto you.
clinical academia. I've just studied. Yes.
We all have.
Yeah. Yes. The research papers say. No, I definitely went through all of this myself and am still a work in progress. We all are. And so the thing that some people get into difficulty with is because earth angels are so angelic that before they were incarnated, they often had the option, both for their karma and because they're angelic, to go into a dysfunctional family and be the literal embodiment of an angel in that family and try to fix them, when nobody can be fixed without their permission. That's what earth angels have to ultimately learn, is about other people's free will here on this plane of duality. So an earth angel goes into a dysfunctional family and has the first wound, because there's this closing of the heart when you get here. And the parents' hearts are closed. And so forever after, the earth angels looking for, where's that love? Where's that love? I remember that love that, is in heaven. And trying to find it. Maybe this person's the answer and I can find love through them. Maybe this chocolate bar or this class I'll take, or something. Where's that love? And you get temporary fixes, little bits of the high, but nothing like you remember in heaven. The thing with earth angels is we come in with the veil down. We remember heaven very clearly. We know it's possible, and we get very upset that other people don't get it. When there's wars, we're like, seriously? You guys don't get it. We just don't understand any form of violence, psychic violence, emotional, seriously, physical violence blows our minds. So how do you handle toxic relationships? Pray a lot. Pray for strength. You don't have to do it alone. If it's friendships, and they're out here, you're still going to grieve letting go of that person, and you may have feelings of guilt because you might feel like it's up to you to fix that person. But if someone doesn't want to be fixed, we can love them, but it's not our job to change people. If it's family members, it becomes a little more complex. And if you can overcome that hurdle, hooray, you've earned a PhD in spiritual growth.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of it has to do with compassion. So everybody on this planet, those who are earth angels and those who are, we're all children of God, but people who are not earth angels tend to be here just for their own selves. And on the extreme, it's the narcissists. But the people who are here just for their own personal growth and not to help others, we have to have compassion that they're afraid and they feel alone. And they're dealing with fear in ways that can be really hurtful, and not to take it personally as much as possible. The other thing Earth Angels need to do is find each other, like you guys have, and support each other through this, whether it's online.
Find your true family.
Exactly, Eric. Find your true family. Yep.
Excellent. Yes, I mean, the big quote that we all know is that the two basic impulses, the two basic emotions are fear and love.
Absolutely.
And so the angels are bringing the love, and the toxic relationships are filled with fear.
Exactly.
And in the angels, the interesting thing is I was in a metaphysical bookstore the other day, and I walked back to the section where the oracle decks are and the tarot decks.
Mm-hmm.
And out of about 30 decks, I would say 25 of them had your name on them. You have put out so many of the oracle decks.
Yeah, and many more to come still. It's interesting because they put me, I put myself through college working as a secretary. And I worked in many different places as secretaries. That's how I had to pay my own tuition going through college. And so when I was a secretary, I'd have earplugs in, and I was using, this is going to date me, but I was using a dictaphone with a sewing machine type pedal, and I would listen to my boss's voice. And this is absolutely true. I couldn't stand my boss's voice. And I wanted to get through those letters as quickly as I could, so I learned how to type super fast. I learned how to type 120 words a minute.
Whoa!
Yeah, just so I could get done with the thing. I mean, my motives weren't clean, but it turned out to be a blessing, because now I feel like I'm one of many of God's secretaries. And so I get dictation, and I just type what I hear. And most of the time when I'm turning into Hay House, and what you read is the first draft. And so they tell me, okay, we want this, we want this, we want this. And the cards are what I consider to be my true purpose. I love running cards. And like I said, there's no end in sight. And they amaze me with what they tell me we're going to do next. It's no boredom this way.
How do you decide, do you have different decks or different cards that you consult for different reasons?
This is going to sound a little weird. I don't decide anything. I've really learned as much as possible to turn my will over to God. And so I, just like a good employee, I check in first. What card deck are we using today? What card deck? And sometimes it's very instant, it's just immediate. And sometimes, they always tell me the answer. They tell everyone the answer.
Do you hear them as a collective voice? Is it like words in your mind? Or
Sometimes.
do they give you images or visuals? Or?
I'm very visual.
Okay, so
all
you
of us have,
see.
Yeah, all of us have 4 ways that we talk to the divine. So visual and hearing or auditory. Kinesthetic's the most common, where you feel it as a physical or emotional feeling, and then knowing, where it's just downloads. And so for me, the primary is visual, so I'll see a vision. And so, like I said, when I was a psychotherapist, I see movies in my mind. And it's interesting, I remember when I was first going through psychotherapy training, these things were considered hallucinations. And I had to dig, and I found a group of studies from the East Coast of US and some university that showed that if you're having these visions and they're all loving, they're not hallucinations. The hallucinations that are visual are very violent and very aggressive. And so that helped me to relax, because for a long time I was going through psychotherapy classes, learning about hallucinations, going, do you hear voices? Yes.
As long as you don't see black energies
No.
floating around the ceiling.
Exactly, it's the voice
people
of
telling
love.
you to kill somebody, then
the
You know, it's
opposite.
got the positive.
It's heal somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's true. That's my background too. I'm trained as a psychotherapist.
Oh,
and-
sister.
Yeah, and absolutely, that was the thing. When anybody was in the hospital and they were hearing voices, it was always something really horribly scary,
Yeah.
horribly violent, and so I had similar experience where when I would see something beautiful or loving, I knew that I wasn't having the same experience as that person.
Right, exactly.
That made me think of a heady question. Have you had to deal with people that really needed an exorcism that have come to you, and how have you dealt with it when they're full of that dark
Oh, well,
energy?
I used to belong
When you used
to
do
the
therapy like that?
yeah, I used to do when this was probably going back 15, 20 years, I was part of this group called the Spirit Releasements International
Oh,
Society.
okay, I've heard of that.
And it was a lot of, I can't remember his last name, Bill, he's a dentist, he wrote the book of Spirit Releasement, and Irene, she's passed now. A lot of the heavy hitters, and so I learned from them how to release lower energies and help people to be themselves. And
Right,
I
to
still,
clear
I
their
still do.
auras and get it all outside them.
Yeah, basically there's a lot of different methods like vacuuming with Archangel Michael or calling upon Jesus. There's many different ways to release attachments to people, and it does work. I definitely believe in that. Seems like there's less call for it these days, I'm happy to say. I think more people are taking care of themselves.
Or maybe the heavy energies are lifting too from all the positive people on the planet.
Exactly, yeah.
Doing so many treatments for the world. and
Yeah.
for
It
the
does seem like-
lower energies, that's true.
In recent years, more and more people, a bigger percentage of the population are interested in metaphysics and light
Amen.
work, and it used to be 20 years ago, if there was a metaphysical bookstore, you'd be the only person there, and
Look before you walk in to see,
Yeah.
make sure your friends aren't watching you. I'm kidding.
Yeah, when I was growing up, metaphysics was considered, either crazy or witchcraft. My parents were metaphysical, and they raised me this way. And it was just, nothing that anyone talked about.
You're with the Church of Religious Science, or was it with
Unity.
with Unity
Yeah.
primarily?
Mhm.
Oh,
And then
okay.
Christian Science also.
Oh, and
yeah.
Christian
Yeah,
Science.
Yeah.
Very good.
so now there are so many people, and I do believe it's also because so many of the children coming in now. And you write about
Yes.
crystal children. And
Yes.
So what are crystal children for our viewers who don't know about that?
Well, first of all, I'm often accused of putting people into little boxes, and I don't think I'm doing that. I actually, the way my mind works is I see patterns. And so there's patterns among different generations and different energy vibrations. And so there's these generations that started, the basic one started with the indigos. I mean, everyone's heard of the indigo children, who aren't children anymore, they're in their 30s. They've always been here. Joan of Arc's a good example of an indigo, the rebel rousers. And there's just a group of indigos that came in the 70s. And they're still being born, but not as many. And then the next generation, the crystal children, started to be born in the 80s, trickling in the 90s, and then now they're just pouring in. And crystal children are here to save the world. I mean, indigos too. Indigos came in with a group purpose of they've got this inner radar for what I call BS detector. They can tell a million miles away when someone is lying to them or placating them. And an indigo doesn't respect anybody according to their title or how much money they have. They only respect people who are walking their talk. And the next generation, the crystals, they have the same kind of scanning device, but what they're scanning for is that person's heart open or not. And so crystal children, who are now, it can be as old as their 30s, they're born in the 80s, and some of them are younger, they are only wanting to talk to people whose hearts are open and to animals whose hearts are open. And so they love senior citizens who tend to have their hearts open because they're just ready to go home, aren't they? And they love people who are natural. But the rest of the time, they don't bother. I admire that too, because I want to say when I was a kid, I would try and, as an earth angel, I would try to get the mean kids to like me and be happy, and you just can't, because their hearts are closed. Crystal children don't even bother with mean kids. And so that's why they look like they're antisocial and they're not talking. And a lot of times, tragically, they're put in the same category as autism or Asperger's syndrome, and they don't fit the clinical profile for that. They're just discerning is what it is. They're not going to talk to someone whose heart's closed. Why should you? It's a waste of time. They'll pray for them, but they're not going to go try and play with them. It's interesting. So the crystal children are the ones who are very innovative. They're the ones coming up with all the cool businesses right now. Most of their businesses are eco-friendly. And I really see them as the innovators of new eco-technology, new power ways, and getting us off fossil fuels and such. Where the Indigos generation, where you see them in the news, is they tend to be the whistleblowers. They are the Edward Snowdens of the world. They're the ones who are saying, that is so wrong, and they don't care what happens to themselves, they're going to say it.
Well, I'm encouraged that you're saying that these crystal children exist, because our planet obviously needs a lot of help right now.
If you watch or listen to any TEDx talk, you'll see them. They're everywhere.
And the ones that are being born now, when a parent has a child with these sensitivities and these gifts, how can they nurture that?
Well, the crystal children are pretty maintaining. They know what they like and don't like. They're in touch with their body, which is so needed, So a crystal child will usually self-select a vegetarian diet. In fact, a high percentage of them that I've interviewed are fruitarians, which is the highest vibration that you can be, because if you pick fruit, you're not killing the plant, are you? So fruitarians, very high vibrational. They are born in families that eat a lot of meat, and they refuse to eat meat. On their own, they self-select that. They know what they want. They need to be outside in nature a lot. They need creative outlets. They're very, very artsy. They love to be with animals. The only time a crystal child gets cranky, in fact, is if they don't have that connection with nature. I think we all do, though. I think at some level we all are cranky. It's like when an airplane takes off and all the kids start crying. I used to get annoyed, and then one day it hit me, these kids know what they're talking about. We should all be crying when these planes take off. This is unnatural.
That's true. That segues into my next question. You've been teaching workshops all over the world, and now you're finally coming back to Maui, Mother Maui, as your primary residence, and just doing a couple things a year. And you'll be presenting at the Writing from the Soul workshop, June 12th.
Oh, I'm so excited about
at the
that.
West in Maui with Wayne Dyer.
Yay!
And helping other aspiring authors kind of catch the rising star of Hay House and see what they can do to get some of their materials published.
Yeah, Hay House is wonderful. Before I was with them, I used to be with the big New York houses. I started out with Harper Collins, and then I went to Bantam, and then I was with a division of Simon Schuster, and I had a William Morris agent. I let all that go. I mean, I appreciate all that they did for me, but Hay House I'm married to since 1993. And I would not even consider another publisher. And they are so in touch with guidance. And the fact that they're doing a writer's workshop here in Maui it's amazing. I'm going to speak for only, I think, 3 or 4 hours, but I'm going to stay the whole weekend. Because Wayne is one of my mentors. I mean, none of us are perfect, but Wayne has taught me so much. And then Reed Tracy is one of the smartest men that I've ever met. And he's the president of Hay House. He'll be there presenting. And they're so generous. They'll tell you everything that they know. They'll just give it to you. And if someone were to listen to that and follow through, they would have a published book. They'd be very successful. Mm-hmm. And of course, Hay House is a self-publishing division, the Balboa Press. You get your book published, but you still have to do a lot of work marketing it. And so, that's...
But you have a book.
But you have a book, yeah.
Exactly, which gets you on the cover of Maui Vision and other magazines, and somebody says I'm a published author.
Oh, no, don't. Can people hold that to you? No. That's may get you on the cover, right?
May get you on the cover. May get you on the cover of Vision magazine and other major publications.
Yeah, no, it does. It opens doors.
It opens
when my
a lot
first
of
book,
doors.
it does. When my first book was published, I was amazed that all of a sudden I was on the radio constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This island, too, attracts so many creative people and intelligent people, and so it'll be good to see what comes out of that.
Yes.
And then you, of course, are here. Mm-hmm. So what are your angels and what are the masters saying is in store for Maui?
Well, definitely activism. We have to continue. We had such a build-up with the last election, and I was a part of that. I was collecting signatures myself, and at my workshops I was giving here on the island. I was making sure that we were collecting signatures, and I donated a lot of money for buying pamphlets for the program. And so we need to continue that momentum. We can't rest on our laurels now and go, well, we did that, what's next? We have to make sure that that proposition is enacted and enforced. And then the other thing that we can all do is eat organic. I mean, yes, it's more convenient to go to a regular grocery store and buy what I call muggle food. It's got pesticides on it. But gosh, the UN report just came out that absolutely links glyphosate, which is what's inside, built into GMO foods, is this poison. It's been linked to cancer a long time ago, but apparently that report was lost at the time that Michael Taylor, who was one of the attorneys for Monsanto, became the head, the safety czar of FDA. Don't get me started on all this. but
We won't. We try not to be too political.
Yeah, no. If you need to spend $1 more to get a non-GMO potato, by all means, for your own health and life, do it. You go shop at Mana Foods in Paella, or even better, grow your own non-GMO heirloom foods. And really, they do show me that it's continuing for all of us to speak up, and speak up for air quality. I mean, it's not only what's in the land, but what's being sprayed in the air, and to protect. And where I came from before this, in Kona, there was a lot of activism about the resorts, golf courses, not letting their pesticides go into the ocean and kill the reefs. So as much as it can be like, it doesn't feel peaceful to do that, we have to stay aware and we have to speak up and get involved.
That's part of Earth Angel assertiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And we love this island, and so we take care of it.
We have to. I mean, otherwise, at the end of our life, they're going to ask us, why didn't you speak up? And we're going to go, because I was afraid. And they're going to show us, all you have to do is speak up. Because the squeaky wheel does get the oil. Absolutely.
So in your website, angeltherapy.com, you post readings from the angels every day and every week. And you've been doing readings for a very long time. You've been also doing these workshops. Are you doing some of this on Maui now?
Well, I've got contracts with Hay House where they're keeping me kind of just doing theirs. But I'm open to doing. I love doing workshops, and in the past I've done free workshops at the Lotus Temple and at Enchantment Bootsy's place down in Wailea, whatever. It's Enchantment something.
Enchantress.
Enchantress, yes,
Yes.
a lovely. I call it the Sparkle Shop. And so now I'm asking Bootsy and Judy, who's got the bookstore in
Awakening
Kihei,
Paradise.
yes, Awakening Paradise, to talk, because I'm friends with both of them. Let's see if we can do a joint venture and do some sort of fundraising. Yes, the fall. That's what I was thinking.
So you're also big into social media.
Yes.
We loved getting the links to YouTube and
Instagram.
your Instagram
Yeah,
and
it's a happy
Facebook.
place.
You do daily card pullings on Instagram, and then once a week you give a reading for the week on YouTube.
Yes, with my husband
And then-
Michael as the videographer and the editor
Mhm.
and director.
And then you post a lot on Facebook too,
Yeah.
so people befriend your page. They can get positive
Yeah.
messages that come not every day, but maybe every. Do you do one a day or
I
2 a day?
post
you think?
2 or 3 times a day on
Yeah.
Facebook.
So if you want to get into the positive,
Yeah, tune into the
Angel
energy
Road.
and just say, okay, this is what's going on.
so that's excellent. You're very accessible to everybody that's your readers and your
Oh yeah,
fans all
yeah.
over
The walls are
world.
down. Yeah, unless it's someone who's annoying, and then I consider that person someone who I can pray for, but I'm not going to necessarily connect with, because I love myself too much to surround myself with annoying people.
That's assertiveness for Earth
Uh-huh.
Angels.
Exactly.
Well, Doreen, we want to thank you so much for being on our show today.
Oh, I went by so fast. You're both so lovely, and thank you very much. It's been a joy and a blessing to meet new friends.
Absolutely. We want to invite everybody, if you'd like to get in touch or to connect with myself or Mary Beth or Doreen, to look at the credits at the end of the show, and feel free to get in touch.
And stay attuned to Maui Source.
Aloha.
Little star. We will turn into love.
Here's the latest edition of Maui Vision Magazine, the magazine I'm very thrilled to be able to publish here on Maui. And look who's on our cover but Dr. Dreamy Bear Baraka Kanan for our April-May 14th anniversary edition. He's our musical guest today on Maui Source TV.
You're blessed when you've worked up a good appetite for kindness and compassion, because it's food and drink and the best meal you'll ever eat. You're blessed when you care. At the moment of being careful, you find yourself cared for. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your heart and your mind put right. For then you can see the looks of love in everyone's eyes. You're blessed when you can show others how to cooperate instead of compete or fight. That's the moment you find out who you really are in this earthly family. Look at the stars in the sky. Look at the birds as they fly. The birds neither go to work nor have job titles. And yet, have you ever seen freedom quite like it? Look at the wildflowers growing in the fields. They neither primp nor stand in front of mirrors. And yet the 10,000 best-dressed kings and queens pale in comparison to even a single one of these. If this is how the universe liberates the sky and clothes the fields, don't you think it will care for you, tend to you, want the best for you? What I want you to do is to relax, to not be so preoccupied with getting, so that you can respond to love's giving. All of the prophets and all of the holy books can be summed up in one word: tenderness. Long after the stars burn out and the earth beneath your feet wears out, true love will still be alive and happening as you. Aloha from the heart of Mama Maui. It's good to be alive. Viva l'evolution.
Little by little, we will turn into stars. We will turn into love.
Welcome back to Maui Source TV. We're ready for questions and answers with Dr. Dreamy Bear and Doreen Virtue, our featured guests.
What, in your opinion, is the meaning of existence?
To me, the meaning of life is love. I mean, that's all there is. And it's divine love, it's pure love, it's about remembering love. And all the different forms that can take. In the form of expression of joy, expression of creativity, expression of compassion, these are all different facets of the beautiful gem of love.
What do you think we can do to make the world a better place? In other words, what can individual beings do to give back to existence for all that they've been given?
To me, the world has love, but what it needs most is recognition of love. It's already there. We don't need to add more. All of us need to recognize that we're doing the best we can and give ourselves a break. The opposite of love is fear, but the form of fear that is expressed too much is guilt. And guilt robs us of our power, it clips our wings from flying high, it takes away our joy and our inner child expression. So let's all recognize that we need to have self-compassion. You're doing the best you can, give yourself a break, don't be so hard on yourself, love yourself.
If you had one piece of advice to offer this world from all that you've experienced thus far, what would that piece of advice be?
Let me pull a card for everyone listening. Interesting. The ocean comes up. And what they're telling me is that this is two meanings. Literal ocean, get into the ocean more. It's the mother. And In French, ocean is mer, which is another word for Mary or mother. And going to the ocean that we have here in Hawaii is one of the reasons we moved here, but it's so easy to say, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. But they're saying do it more. Get in that salt water, which will detox you. It'll take away the psychic debris, the fear energy you've absorbed. It'll take away physical toxins too. And it'll help you to feel that freeing energy of being suspended in water. Whether you scuba dive or float or snorkel, or you've got a million different floaties on you, just get in the water. And the second thing they're saying is get into the ocean. And they say that's the ocean of the energy. Don't think of yourself as a part of, disconnected or a part of everyone else. You're a drop in the ocean that is we, all of us. And so that everything that's going on that's good in the world, you have access to it, darling. You just need to ask for it more and then be willing to receive it.
I'd like you to step out of the box for a minute and imagine that Maui, the island, could incarnate as a person in a body, and we're here before you now. What would you say to Maui?
I would say thank you for staying so strong in the midst of all the they're saying the word oppression. I don't know what that means, but that's the word I heard, so I'm saying it. They said, thank you for staying who you are, Maui, in the face of temptations, in the face of pressure to change and be like something else or someone else. And they're saying everyone who lives here gets that authenticity energy just by being on this sacred, holy ground. They said it's from the lava rock, from the yin and the yang of the ocean and the lava energy, which is very yang. And they said when you're here, you have to be real. If you're doing anything phony baloney, it'll not pretty. Don't do it. So thank you, Maui, for teaching us all to be real and demanding of it, of all of us.
Stay attuned to Maui Source TV. We're going to have wonderful, great things for you in store.
From the source of all things conscious and beautiful, aloha.
Little by little, little by little.